Arizona dispatches of USC in a way that the Wildcats needed to. All that and some football talk. Let's get started on Locked On Wildcats.
You are Locked On Wildcats, your daily podcast on the Arizona Wildcats, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Wildcats your first listen of the day. This show is brought to you by FanDuel. All right, now, Arizona basketball. Arizona fans needed something to be able to cheer about. It's been a long couple days, and especially Arizona basketball not playing as well of late. But guess what? Arizona was able to take care of business against the USC Trojans, and it was a team effort. If you watched the game, you knew that Arizona got off to a very, very fast start. And then after that, it kind of slowed down to a certain extent. And a big part of that was Arizona just kind of lets teams back into games. And not only do they let teams back into games, they kind of just go through the motions. And I think that's what's frustrating for a lot of people is that it feels like Arizona just kind of goes through the motions. But when Arizona hits you with that second level, man, I don't know that there's any better team in the country than the Wildcats because they can hit you from a lot of different levels. First of all, Caleb Love is super, super good, as we know. And when he gets going, man, you love to see it. And not only do you love to see it, you also know that he can be the guy that is going to take Arizona home at the end of the day. Umar Ballo for all of his struggles at times has something like 100 points and 100 rebounds in his last 6 games. So we can't really sit here and complain about Umar Ballo, leader of men Umar Ballo, because again, he's been very, very good. He's just kind of limited in certain ways, but he's still a pretty good player. And quite frankly, this is a game that Arizona should have won by 20 plus points because again, SC is not very good, but it's also a team that was missing 3 players. Listen, you lose Isaiah Collier, you lose Isaiah Collier, Boogie Ellis, and Joshua Morgan. That's going to impact you, and that's going to impact you in a big way. And that's certainly what happened against USC. Now, I do think that there's a couple things that we do need to talk about too with this team, with this Wildcat team. First and foremost is when they play like they did in the second half, there's very few teams in the country that are better than them. And when I say very few teams, it was I mean that. A big part of this team is just they can hit you with an explosive factor. And when everybody's playing well, they're next to impossible to beat. Now, they can lose to teams for sure. But when they're playing well, when they're moving the ball, it's just a joy to watch. And not only is it a joy to watch, it's also a team that you could tell likes playing with each other, basically kind of likes the grind. Honestly, I think that this is a squad that can. This is a squad again that I still believe when March comes is going to be the best team. Is going to be the team that is going to be the favorite to win it all. Listen, everybody talks about, well, you know what? You lost to Stanford, you lost to Stanford, you lost to Washington State. I get it, but man, this is college basketball. Look at it. Kansas just lost to Central Florida. Central Florida is the worst team in the Big 12. Not only did Kansas lose to Central Florida, just look at UConn last year. UConn lost 6 of 8 games at one point, and by the end of the year, they were the best. They were the best team in the entire country. And not only were they the best team in the entire country, it wasn't even close. This is college basketball, and a big part of it is that guys are going to struggle to a certain degree. That's just always going to be the case. And you know what? That's all right. That's not the worst thing in the world. But it's kind of how you respond to it. And Arizona so far has shown that they have a pretty tough team, and they've got a bunch of guys that respond pretty well. And so we'll see exactly what happens here. I do believe, though, I do believe that this is a team, though, that should also destroy UCLA. UCLA is coming up next. UCLA, you could maybe say that they're playing a little bit better. I don't know if that's necessarily the case, but they beat ASU, they beat Washington, so you can obviously take that one for what it's worth. But I still think that UCLA stinks. And I think that not only do they stink, I think that they're the team that pretty much is kind of at this the stage where you know that they could fall apart at any point. The vibes aren't good with the team, and not only are the vibes not good with the team, it's a squad that just kind of feels like it could implode at any time. Mick Cronin has gone the international route, and that honestly just hasn't worked for him because he is a guy who he's a coach who just doesn't he's not patient. He wants things to happen in his way, and you see it. I mean, I think it was with Jan Vitti or Jan Vitti, however it's pronounced. He took him out. He put him in. He took him out within 1 minute. You're not going to build any confidence that way. And not only are you not going to build any confidence that way, you're also not going to you're not going to really win. I mean, well, listen, I think it's fair to say at this point that Tommy Lloyd can build his own team. A lot of people are wondering, how would Tommy Lloyd be without Sean Miller's players? Well, Tommy Lloyd has said, look at this. He's got one of the best teams in the country. Now you see for the first time that what it's like without having players who are at least recruited by Steve Alford, and Mick Cronin is struggling, and Mick Cronin is struggling in a big way. And honestly, I don't really see that one changing. This feels like something that is not going to end well. And not only does it feel like it's not going to end well, it does feel like a team that is kind of on the verge of blowing up at any time. And honestly, Arizona should destroy UCLA because UCLA just doesn't have as good of players as Arizona. The only position that UCLA is probably better than Arizona is probably a Dembona. I'll give you a Dembona, but that's pretty much it. And not only that, I do feel like this is a team that just could quit at any point. It's not a tough team by any means. Not only is it not a tough team, it's a team that feels like it's kind of broken. Now, we're going to talk a little bit more about the Pac-12 and where Arizona stands after this victory. But first, my friends, eBay Motors. All right, check it out. eBay Motors. All right, now, in this day and age, it's very important to have the right parts, the right fit, the right prices. Check it out. eBay Motors, eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. Listen, how many times have you been kind of screwed around by the middleman or somebody that just doesn't really seem like they have your best interest at heart? All right, this is where it's at because, again, eBay Motors says to you, we are here for you. And not only are we here for you, we are also going to save you some money in the same time. And then you got LinkedIn. All right, check it out. LinkedIn.com/lockedon. Everybody knows somebody that got a job through LinkedIn. And not only do you know somebody that got a job through LinkedIn, you also probably know somebody who is kind of at the stage where you either need a job, and not only will you need a job, you also need to be at the stage where you can get a job or somebody else can get a job. Check it out, linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. All right. Now, Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats and making this your first listen of the day. All right, now we have a look ahead, the rest of the conference. All right, the problem here, Arizona fans, you need to be rooting against Oregon. And not only do you need to be rooting against Oregon, that is the one team that you really need to be rooting against, because in a big way, this is a team that is ahead of Arizona by 2 games. Now, Arizona's going to get an opportunity to be able to Arizona's going to be able to have an opportunity to be able to beat Oregon, but you also need them to lose another game. And not only do you need them to lose another game, you need them to kind of start tripping up. And I think the concern is that Oregon is good now. Oregon's got their squad intact. And not only do they have their squad intact, you're probably going to get Nate Biddle back at some point. And with N'Faly Dante, he's going to get considerably better as the season goes on, and I don't really think that that should surprise anybody, because N'Faly Dante is a very, very good basketball player. But he also, and you saw that in the first game of the season where he went for 16 and 21 against Georgia. But after going 16 and 21 against Georgia, he got hurt and he's been out now. Now he made his return against Cal. I'll be interested to see where he is, because and what he looks like with his injury. But this is not a team that you are going to want to play come March. I can guarantee you that. It is a squad that is just really good. Again, you got good guard play, you got good bigs. You need them to drop some games, though. You got they play Colorado tonight. 1,000% need them to lose to Colorado. And Arizona can't drop any more of the games that they've been dropping. That cannot happen. And not only can that not happen, Arizona just doesn't have a margin for error. Arizona can still win the conference, but when you lose 2 chippy games, that can't, Stanford, Washington State, you kind of put yourself in a little bit of a bind, and we'll see going forward if that comes back to bite the squad or not. Now, a couple other things. The rest of the conference, though, don't really worry about it. Colorado is really good when healthy. That's the other team that to keep an eye on. But they're also, I think, a team that's going to have a little bit of an issue, because I still don't think that they're deep enough. All right. But that's where that's at. Now, we're going to look ahead to we're going to talk a little bit of Arizona football now. All right. Now, Brent Brennan, obviously, he had his presser and he hit the ball out of the park. Nobody was really surprised by it, but just when you watch somebody, especially after the way that Jedd Fisch left town, and not only did Jedd Fisch leave town, he left town essentially bashing everybody on the way out. Instead of just leaving and taking a job that was probably, just a little bit better, or, making more money, he had to have his agent do the tour where he said that Arizona screwed him over. That's all nonsense. Arizona fans were down. Arizona fans were down in the dumps. And not only were they down in the dumps, they were kind of at the stage where you're like, all right, this just isn't a good look for the Wildcats. You needed somebody that was going to come in and I think do things the right way. And that is, I think, what Brent Brennan's going to do. And you could just tell that he was sincere. When he was talking with Dave Hickey, you could just tell that both those guys have kind of a camaraderie, kind of a chemistry with each other. And that's something that is, I think, can be difficult at times to be able to really quantify as somebody that has a really good feel for, just kind of what the basic norms of how you go about doing things. Brent Brennan was obviously bummed he didn't get the job 3 years ago. He is coming in here, though, and he is going to take over a team that has a lot of talent. And there is a good chance, and we're going to talk about that he's going to be able to retain quite a bit of it. But his vision, though, you could tell. He said, listen, at San Jose State, we were able to win, and that is a difficult place to there's next to no budget. You, as a coach, you have to do so much stuff, and you have to do so much stuff kind of out of pocket. Now, not necessarily paying for players and stuff, but you have to do a lot of different things that you probably shouldn't have to do as a Division I head coach. But again, I think that's also kudos. I think that's also a little bit of a tip of the cap to what he was able to do. Now, Arizona fans are going to embrace him because you can tell he's genuine. You can tell that he wants to be here. And when I say he wants to be here, this guy, even though he didn't play at Arizona, he feels like an Arizona alum. Obviously, I remember Brent Brennan very, very well. That troika of receivers with Jeremy McDaniel and Dennis Northcutt was something to behold. But Brent Brennan was also kind of the one that kept everything going. He was a very, very important part of that. And again, big touchdown in the Holiday Bowl against Nebraska. And you could tell that, with Brent Brennan, he was there watching and was there cheering him along, graduate assistant as well. And you could tell how much Dick Tomey meant to him. And again, that means a lot. Now, Dick Tomey, the winningest coach in U of A history. He's also the dude who, I think, a lot of people kind of have revisionist history of, but Dick Tomey was obviously a very, very good coach. And not only was he a very, very good coach, he did things the right way. And I think that's what Brent Brennan's saying that he's going to do as well. Now, a big part of this, though, is how much can you return? Can you return a Noah Fafita? Can you return a T-Mac? That remains to be seen because both those guys, and a Jacob Manu. Both those guys can go absolutely anywhere they want. But you watch them, you read the tea leaves, you can kind of tell that they like what they've got going here at the U of A. And not only do they like what they have going, you can just tell that this group of players is unique in that I think they're very loyal to each other. And I think they look around and they think to themselves, man, our coach left, but why can't we continue to build on this? And I think that is something that's got to be very enticing for Arizona football fans and for these guys. Because again, you can build your own legacy. If those guys were to come back, you're all of a sudden now looking at a group of players that are going to be held in mythological standards because they would have had a lot of different options, and not only a lot of different options, but also, just a lot of schools could have made a lot more money. Now, we're going to talk about what else that this Arizona team can do. But first, FanDuel. Check it out, FanDuel. All right, now, there's nothing more enjoyable than betting on a game, and not only betting on a game, but also having, like I said, a little bit of skin in the game, knowing that your money is good, because again, keep in mind, it can be frustrating at times when you know that you're like, all right, is my money good? Is this all on the up and up? FanDuel says, do not worry about that. We are all on the up and up at FanDuel. Check it out, FanDuel.com/lockedon. You will, again, thank me later. It's fun. It's enjoyable. Do it. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats and making this your first listen of the day. I am your host, Mike Luke. All right, now let's talk a little bit about what it would mean. Listen, if Arizona were able to return those core players from Teteroa McMillan to Noah Fafita to Jacob Manu to Jonah Coleman, it's game on, my friends. You're going into the Big 12, but you would have an absolutely loaded roster. And not only would you have an absolutely loaded roster, you would also have a squad that I believe can make the college football playoffs, and not only make the college football playoffs, I think can do some real damage in there as well. And that's what you're at. And with Brent Brennan, you got Dwayne Akina back. Who knows? Maybe you get Johnny Nansen. You're going to have a really, really good coaching staff in place with a talented roster. Now, again, you're going to have to be able to use the portal to get some other players in there, but people want to play with Noah Fafita. Not only do they want to play with Noah Fafita, they want to, they can see that this is going to be a fun style because, again, when you got a quarterback that can deliver the ball, that makes everything a lot easier. And Noah Fafita is the epitome of the quarterback that can deliver the football to you. Just look at the difference between Jaden DeLaura and Noah Fafita when Noah Fafita was in. And again, if you're able to bring back a T-Mac, you've already got a a Kevin Green, possibly a Malachi Riley, obviously, and a Montana Lamonius Craig. And then who knows? Maybe you get back Jonah Coleman. I know that he was being worked on, and they took him out, took him to the football game, also got him some really good food at Sullivan's. He deserved that food. And then, Amanu. And then also on top of that, you can hit the portal. If you can retain this roster, again, then it's just kind of about working around the edges, because I'm also with the stage 2 with Arizona football. If you get 2 straight 10-win seasons, it becomes a lot easier going forward. And not only does it become a lot easier going forward, it also becomes a team that it also becomes a program that you start wondering, can you win and can you sustain this? And in the Big 12, I think there's a lot of questions about, again, it's a good conference. I think it's an underrated conference when it comes to football, but it also takes a little bit, it doesn't take a lot of time to know that there's not a juggernaut there. And again, if there's not a juggernaut, you're going to have some real opportunities there to be able to win some games. So again, both those squads, or Arizona, I think, is going to be well equipped to be able to do some real damage in the Big 12. But you got to get these players back. Again, it's not done yet, obviously. But don't count your chickens before they're hatched. But it would be nice to be able to get those guys back. And I've said this before, but if those players were to come back, you would be able to erect a statue, essentially, of Noah Fafita, of T-Mac, because, again, they were incredibly instrumental in one of the best seasons in Arizona football history. But if they came back as well, then you say, man, they are really committed to back in the A. And I think that would be something that would be very, very, just very heartwarming. And you also kind of think to yourself, man, could that be a 30 for 30? It would have that kind of feel to it. All right, now, we're going to continue tomorrow to talk about Arizona football. We're also going to talk about some Arizona basketball, get you ready for the UCLA game, because, again, there's a lot going on there as well. But as always, very much appreciate you guys making Locked On Wildcats your first listen of the day. I'm your host, Mike Luke, and, again, we will be back with you tomorrow.